was We Will Slay. Oh, that was so cringy. Oh, sorry. Oh, with the purple braids. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I haven't seen that video in years. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to be here and seeing all of your beautiful faces this bright, Thursday morning. Yeah, I can't explain how excited I was to get an email from Karen saying that she had an event that she wanted me to speak at. I'm just so excited to be here. And I just want to start by sharing a short anecdote from my childhood. When I was 13, my mother gifted me with a jigida, a waist bead, a jewelry band with small, colorful beads strung on a thin thread that's adorned around the waist or stomach. In many West African cultures, waist beads are a symbol of femininity and womanhood. I considered mine a rite of passage that connected me to the vast tapestry of Nigerian culture, where each bead represented a woman that came before me. Not long after I started wearing my jigida, I began to feel its consequence. Every quick movement I made resulted in the beads pinching at my skin. Its purpose was to limit my actions into delicate movements befitting a woman. Restriction seemed synonymous with my womanhood. That was until I started performing poetry. My voice was low and shaky, but remained certain of the space it held. When I performed, I saw the faces of women in the audience. Their eyes glimmered in the spotlight, and their smiles stretched across their faces like crescent moons. Their smiles and snaps validated my newly found confidence in my voice. Until then, I had never been on a platform that allowed me to speak so freely without being reminded to lower my voice. At those moments, I was uncertain of whether it was my jigida or my poetry that gave birth to my womanhood. And yet, despite my newfound liberation, I found it uncomfortable to perform poetry while I wore the jigida. I felt as if I was being pulled in two different directions, one freeing and the other constricting. I realized that I could define my own femininity. It was a revelation that I found in the gaps of the jigida bead and the spaces between my poetic line breaks. One day, I came home from school and made one of the most important decisions in my adolescence. I took hold of the jigida, with hands grasping onto the thread, pulling it in two separate directions, stretching it as hard and as far as I could. I yearned for my culture to validate my womanhood, but not at the cost of restricting my body, my words, and my thoughts. And before I could gather my thoughts, the thread snapped, and the beads scattered like wooden raindrops dancing at my feet. Through poetry, I found the platform to celebrate all that makes me an independent woman and a proud Nigerian. My writing is testimony that one can embrace their culture while coming to terms with their own identity and how they want to define it. My passion for writing is not something that I carried with me from my childhood. Rather, it was a gift carefully cultivated in the John D. O'Brien writer's room. At first, the only reason I went to the writer's room was because I needed a quiet place to study before heading to my after-school job or getting home to 3 hyper little siblings. However, the collection of books that ornamented the shelves and the funny conversations I heard amongst the staff pulled me closer to the writer's room. I noticed that many of my classmates were submitting essays and poems to the Rubik's Literary Magazine, and soon enough, I became an editor and then a frequent writer for the magazine. A few months later, the writer's room staff created a poetry team, and at first I thought to myself, why would anyone have a team of poets? That's kind of weird. Were they supposed to be the Avengers of literature for the school? But I decided to join the team anyways, and it was a decision that would change the trajectory of my high school experience. I was the only freshman on a team of upperclassmen, but quickly befriended the most talented and funniest students at my school. and I was introduced to poetry coaches who individually mentored us. Soon, I had the opportunity to share my art beyond the concrete walls of my high school. My art matured to the point where I was incorporating profound metaphors, lines in unison, and even choreography. I entered the team as a writer, but left as a performer. My team was booked for many shows, including my favorite Night of 1,000 Stories. It was an 826 fundraising event, much like this one, with lots more featured speakers, and it became my team's yearly Met Gala. This opened the door for so many more accolades. In 2018, the 826 Boston team won first place at the Louder Than a Bomb Poetry Slam competition. The year prior, I was on the state poetry team that placed second in the world at the International Festival in LA. Additionally, I was the first Youth Poet Laureate in Massachusetts and was named Boston's youngest 150 women of influence at 16. I also met my idol, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, at an event in San Francisco, and I nearly wept in front of her at the 826 national stage. Eventually, I gained the confidence to start hosting my own open mics and writing sessions for LGBTQ students of color at the Haley House in Roxbury. Between you and I, my proudest accomplishment was becoming the first person in my family to go to college. All this because I decided to put pen to paper in a bright-colored room with people who saw something special in me before I saw it in myself. When I went to college, I quickly realized that university-level writing was too formulaic and frankly really boring. However, I was able to transfer skills that set me ahead of other students, including the ability to take feedback, outlining, and especially public speaking. I joined many literary clubs in college, but my favorite was called the Black Underground Theater and Arts Association. It was created by theater trailblazer and one of the first Black women to ever graduate Dartmouth, Lorna C. Hill. However, the organization was inactive for many years until my close friend and I decided to reactivate it. And as director, I created departments for theatrical performances, fashion, dance, and spoken word so other students could share their myriad of talents on campus. I am now a first-generation immigrant Ivy League graduate with a deep love for writing. My younger brother, Desmond, also attends the O'Brien, has found the same love for writing that I have. 826 Boston has helped him cultivate his arts and helped him get published in Rubik's magazine. I'd like to emphasize that this is not just an organization that simply tutors students and leaves them to fend for themselves. Just last month, Heather Nelson, one of the writer's room coordinators during my time at O'Brien, reached out to me for dinner. And as we washed down our dinner with margaritas, she was surprised that I was actually old enough to drink, since we haven't seen each other since my high school graduation. She recounted the intimate moments in the writer's room that I completely forgot. We talked about high school drama, family, and some of the new libraries popping up in Boston. This is just one of the examples of the sense of community that is fostered in 826 Boston. There are team members and volunteers that follow students' growth way beyond high school. I cannot begin to explain how much it meant to be remembered after all these years. With that being said, I want to simply share my With that being said, I want to share my gratitude to the people in the organization who saw a quiet Black girl and dared her to believe in herself, that dared her to write her own story and forge her own future. Because of you, writing and literary performance became a source of liberation for me. Mastering the art of storytelling has been fundamental in my academic and personal growth. I consider myself a leader in the vast community of poets, organizers, and educators in the Boston community. This organization has instilled in me a strong sense of confidence in my voice, and I move through life knowing that my pen is mightier than any struggle I may face. 826 Boston was the first organization that actually valued my artistry enough to reward my brilliance. Writing is a beautifully crucial craft for young people, and it has both artistic and monetary value. Investing in students' writing means investing in their creativity, imagination, and communication skills, as well as their long-term academic success. Thank you so much for the love and care that you have poured into me and into young students like me in the Boston Public Schools.